What's going on, everybody? AJ Riley here with Eric Vincent for another installment of your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box. Yes. We had a rough time last night on the live, and it happens from time to time because, listen, even players have bad days, right?
Real players mess up too. It happens.
But here we are, ready to give you some more fresh content. We're going to get a little bit more into the wide receiver discussion, specifically about Jameson Williams.
Your favorite.
We're going to talk a little bit about Jared Goff this afternoon. And here's the thing. This is what I want to know, Eric. Can Jameson Williams become the NFL's next superstar? And will Jared Goff solidify his future with the Lions? That's what we're talking about. Coming at you hot tonight. Let's go. Pause. All right, let's get right into it. Let's jump into Jameson Williams. But before we get really far into it, how can people best rep their Detroit sports teams?
Oh, man. Detroit sports fans, listen to me real quick. Did you know you can now rep your favorite team in style without even leaving this page? Gear Up Detroit store is now available right here on YouTube, just below the video you're watching right now.
That's right. You can browse through our range of high-quality, unique, and stylish merchandise for your favorite Detroit sports teams, the Lions, the Tigers, the Red Wings, and the Pistons, without missing a moment of your favorite sports show.
Indeed, and if you want to explore even more awesome gear, you can always visit gearupdetroit.shop for a full range of tees, hoodies, hats, and more, all designed by talented local artists.
So gear up for the next game, support local creators, and make a statement with Gear Up Detroit. And remember, you can shop right here on YouTube or visit gearupdetroit.shop. Now, Eric, we framed the question, and I'm going to ask it again so we can get right into it. Can Jameson Williams become the next big NFL superstar?
I believe he can, but it's not going to be easy. I don't think, at least. I think he has already kind of behind, not because of just the injury, but his class of receivers around him have been fantastic. Garrett Wilson has been amazing. Drake London looks really good. Chris Olave showed a lot of upside. George Pickens in Pittsburgh. I believe I might even be forgetting a couple more. We had Sky Moore, Christian Watson. Like, there were a lot of really good receivers. So normally for young players, what's the curse that they're given? They're compared to their draft classmates. That's just how it is, unfortunately. So I think that there's skill set. I believe that there's a foundation set up for J-Mo to be productive. If we see that superstar breakout, I'm not sure it's going to be as soon as this season, but I do believe he has a chance. I think there's enough help around him. I think we're going to see a better connection between him and Jared Goff, who we'll talk about a little bit later. But I do think the connection and I think the resources and the ability is there for him to be that superstar. Definitely.
I am interested in what the people think too, so make sure you're dropping comments down below and make sure you're liking and sharing this video so other people can tell us if J-Mo is going to be the next big star.
Yep.
But I also agree with you that he can be. Mm-hmm. He was the best wide receiver coming out last year.
Yes.
Yes, Wilson went in front of him. Yes, Olave went in front of him. But he was also forgotten about because of the ACL injury in the national championship, right? Maybe not forgotten about. Maybe that's too strong of a word. I understand, okay? But Wilson, really good. Olave, really good. Don't have the game-changing speed that he has. Now, listen, I told you this. I shared this with you last week, right? I went back and watched all of the Detroit Lions inside the dens from the behind the scenes of the draft room.
Yeah.
And I just got sucked in because I was like mesmerized, right?
Mm-hmm.
It changed my perspective a little bit on J-Mo because of how interested Brad Holmes was to get him.
Yes.
Like, that was the guy that he was going to pick. And he moved up to make sure that nobody could pick him in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, okay. They had the 32nd pick. J-Mo was most likely not going to stay on the board until 32.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when you know and remember quite fondly the reaction of that Packers fan when we drafted Jameson Williams. Do you remember that?
I do. I definitely do. That was nuts.
And listen, it's always good to see Packers fans in misery. So, like, that's why we're going to keep shouting this out.
Yes, indeed.
His speed and his ability to run routes and catch the ball and break games wide open at Alabama is why Brad Holmes drafted him at 12 and traded up with Minnesota to get him at 12. He hasn't lost that. Now, can he adapt to the NFL game and become that superstar that we saw? I feel like we saw flashes last season.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Like, every time the ball was in his hands, it was electrifying. From his one catch that was a 41-yard touchdown and his one run that was a 40-yard reverse that you saw in person.
You could have had a touchdown on that play.
Could have. It was electrifying. And in today's day and age, I feel like electrifying is what makes you the superstar, not necessarily just pure talent. In a day of social media and highlight reels and TikToks and all of that, right? And because of how electrifying he is, I think that there's going to be a lot of reason to believe the next big thing's wearing number 9 in Detroit. And I'm not talking about a former Matthew Stafford jersey. I'm talking about Jameson Williams. Go ahead.
I don't think it. I want people to be fair. Like, yes, there are some games where you're going to want to see him look like that number 1 guy. To me, I don't think it's going to be immediate. Like, we just talked about what they need to do to be great, and it's not get cute. It's not relying on making him look like a number 1. I think that's getting cute. Relying on Amon-Ra, playing ground and pound football, relying on your offensive line to set the tone, I think that's going to be it. But you just spoke to it. Having skill sets that you can't teach, like that game-breaking speed that he has, that's what separates him from his entire class. Like, there's a lot of talented guys. Also forgot Dotson from the Commanders. Also a very good receiver in that group. But yeah, he has things that you can't teach. And as long as we see a little bit of that progression as he gets better, hopefully throughout the season, I think that opportunity is going to be there. I think we're going to see it, maybe not this season, but next. But I do think at some point he will morph into that number 1 guy.
Well, and I think proof of that is the fact that, like we talked about last night on the live, DJ Chark most likely was not offered anything to stay with the Lions, considering what he signed with the Panthers with. J-Mo he played 6 games for the Lions in 2022. He only had 9 targets in those 6 games. He only caught 1 of those 9 targets, but it was for a 41-yard touchdown, which is like, welcome to the big show, kid. Which means that, like, overall, and I'm not going to put any stock into PFF grades for Jameson Williams because it's really hard to grade an entire year on 6 games, right?
Agreed.
63.4 overall, 57.5 passing because he did have 2 drops. 70 for rushing. But I still think we're only scratching the surface of what this kid is going to be. Completely scratching the surface. But in order to really understand fully what he is, how would you navigate or explain, analyze the strengths and weaknesses that he brings to the Detroit Lions?
It's pretty simple. I mean, we just kind of spoke to it. Obviously, we didn't get to see a lot of it last season. Really, even outside of the numbers you just gave, he didn't spend a whole lot of time on the field, so he couldn't get a real rhythm to show off the skill set that he has. Like, he would play one play in a possession, and then that was it. Like they would sit him for the next 2, and then we wouldn't see him again. But a lot of his skill set is on high display. We saw it in college. It wasn't just the game-breaking deep threat speed. Like, he was able to run crisp routes. He was not scared of contact. He was able to outrun a lot of his coverages as well. Pretty good with his hands. Not really the biggest receiver, which kind of worries me a little bit. We talked about that on the live, where this receiving core doesn't have a whole lot of like strength and beef to it. So because of that, we saw some injuries. We saw a lot of things kind of get changed in terms of their game preparation with their receivers. So to me, he's got to use those uncoachable traits that he has to his advantage and use that with separation, use that in terms of being able to run after the catch. I think they'll be able to put him in positions like that where he's, running over the middle and, able to outrun the defense around him. So he's shown the ability to do that, even in the play against the Packers where they called that touchdown back, which broke so many people's heart on the internet.
So many hearts.
But
many hearts.
Yeah, that upside is there. I think the unteachable skills that he has are going to make him very, very special in this league.
And I think you hit on it, and that's kind of where I think too, right? His biggest strength is his ability to create plays. Mm-hmm. It's not the touchdown that we saw for a 41-yard bomb in his first catch. Mm-mm. Where we're going to see his biggest impact is when he takes a 5-yard slant route 30 yards.
Yeah.
And is weaving in and out and running away from people.
Yep.
Those are strengths. Yep. His ability to make plays. According to his draft, I went back and obviously looked at his draft profile, right? Mm-hmm. But he has smooth route takeoff with instant gas, is what the NFL scouting combine said.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
Long-limbed with expansive catch radius, plays with sudden hands to stab and secure high throws, good yards after catch stack when catching on the move. Like mm-hmm. that's also a skill that's hard to teach. It's great to catch the ball, but how can you transfer that into yards after the catch, right? Which he's really, really good at. Mm-hmm. With strengths come weaknesses.
Yes.
So what do you think some of those weaknesses are that he could work on?
Some of the weaknesses that he can work on are a lot of what we talked about in the live. To me, I think this is probably the biggest one for now. I'm not going to hone in on his physicality. I want to see the maturity step up. I want to see his mental growth kind of take a forefront, because he's a young player. And a lot of what we see from him, like we saw the excitement when he scored his touchdown. We saw him hand the football off to his dad, and we saw awesome. That. And I feel like it was very cool, super cool moment. So cool to see him so in the moment and excited about what he was doing. And I feel like the physical traits are going to take a minute. Like I said, I want to see him get a little stronger. I want to see him be able to, run a little bit more of intermediate routes. I want to see him be able to catch with his hands and not his chest. But to me, I'm going to give him some time for that. The things I want to see immediately is the mental. That's got to be a big change right now. I don't want to see no more Lamar clamoring online. Like, I don't want to see it from you, J-Mo. I don't want to see it from him. Let me do that. It's the fans. Yes, let me take care of that. I'm the spokesman for that. J-Mo needs to focus on what he needs to work on. Put your head down. Work with Amon-Ra. Work with Jared Goff. That's what I want to see right now from him.
I have a new title for you for your Twitter bio.
Oh, yeah?
The devil on Brad Holmes' shoulder.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. You can take
it free of charge.
I really might. Let me get on that. That's cool. I'll take that.
You literally took the words right out of my mouth as far as weakness goes, because we've talked about some antics. And again, I want to be very clear. Like, I expect it from a rookie. I'm okay with it, right? Again, trying to reprocess everything I've thought about Jameson Williams over the last year since he was drafted, which I was not thrilled with. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm still glad that he's a Lion. I know that's kind of double speak, but at the same time, I I don't like spending the capital to draft a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But now I trust Brad Holmes more than I like that dislike that decision.
Right.
So I'm okay with that,
Fair.
right?
Yep, that's fair.
I get why he was animated. He had been out of football for a year with this injury. He had just gotten back to play and wasn't getting the run that he wanted to get.
Right.
So there is frustration. I can understand that. Yeah. But when life hands you frustrations, you are defined by how you handle those frustrations.
Absolutely.
And so, in the sense that you are talking with the mental game, yeah, I don't want to see him commenting on photos of Lamar in a Lions uniform.
Yeah. Because
he has a quarterback that he needs to work the chemistry out with. And barring some major move, which has a less than 1% chance of happening, mm-hmm. Jared Goff is going to be throwing footballs to Jameson Williams for the next 2 years.
Yep.
And if you want to be the rising star, then Jared Goff needs to be your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So he can get there. And you said it last night on live, Goff's a pro.
Yes.
I'm sure, and for all the stuff that we have given him in the past, you cannot really question his camaraderie.
Right.
And I think that the guys in the locker room do like Jared Goff.
I agree.
So it would make sense for JMO to be sitting by Goff at every step of the camps, mm-hmm. train, everything. I mean, when I first stepped foot on my college campus, you know who the first person I hung out with was?
Your wide receiver?
The freshman wide receiver that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We went and we hung out. We were just, because you got to build, as we talked about on the live last night, it's about building trust. If I'm throwing you the ball, I need to know that you're going to be there.
Yep.
You need to know that when you beat your guy, I'm putting the ball on you. Right? And it's the same. I mean, football is still football. Yeah, they play it at a much higher level, but the game is still basically the same.
Right.
So what does 2023 look like for Jameson Williams then? That's the question I think everybody wants to know. So, and I want your answers too. So make sure you're throwing them in the comments for us. Make a prediction for 2023. What is Jameson Williams 2023 look like?
I got numbers. I tweeted this the other day.
You actually wrote numbers down.
Yeah. Somebody put up a picture of the 3 picture with Amon-Ra, J-Mo, and DJ Shark during camp, but they got their arms folded.
Yeah.
It's a predicted stat line for both of them. So I'll give you J-Mo's. J-Mo, I think, will finish. Again, I don't believe we're going to see him look like the number 1 consistently through the season. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think we're going to see still a very productive year from him. I think we'll see 70 catches. I think that's a reasonable number for him. I think 850 yards. I think 850.
More than Shark this year.
Yep, more than Shark. They're going to rely on him a lot. I think he's going to be in every series. Like, I don't think they're going to be sitting him and trying to, okay, we'll get you these gadget. No. They're going to play him this year. 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a game breaker. I think he's going to score more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, honestly. I just think he's going to be that game breaker. I feel like Amon-Ra is your chain mover. He's the playmaker, and he's going to help create opportunities for other people. So we're going to see hopefully some double teams, some triple teams to open up the middle for the tight ends and Amon-Ra and whoever they get else to help them. So, but I think those are realistic numbers that we can see from J-Mo this season.
I'm going to one-up you.
Okay, talk to me.
I think he does have a breakout season this year.
Okay, define breakout season. Let me hear this.
I like the 70 catches.
Okay.
That's 70 to 80 catches. I think he gets 1,000.
Really? Okay. All right.
And at least 2 of his touchdowns will be 60-plus yards.
Yeah. That's a good call.
But I think that we start to see the rough edges of the diamond kind of sanded away.
Mm-hmm.
And we get glimpses of exactly who we thought he was when he was drafted.
Yeah.
And again, we're not far removed from where he was drafted. He's not been written off.
Mm-mm.
But 6 games is really hard to analyze anything.
True.
So I think in 2023, we're talking about a team that's going to win the NFC North. They're going to have arguably the best receiving core in the North.
Yeah.
And the best receiver on their team is probably going to be Jamo.
How high over 1,000 are you thinking? You didn't say 11, you didn't say 12, so.
No, I mean, if he eclipses 1,000, then I'm right.
Yeah, that's a W. Yeah.
1,001 yards.
So even with, okay, all right, fine.
That's good. If he hits 1,000 on the number, it
cool
doesn't matter.
Okay. All right, fine.
998, I'm cool with, right? Like, if it's 995 or above, we round up.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1,000 yards, right? So, but a breakout's coming. You can kind of feel it, and they don't have to protect him with the injury anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So let him cook.
Yep.
Give him the gas. Let him cook.
You were talking about in that Defend the Den video, Brad Holmes was talking very highly of him. He said he is somebody that we think could be a number one. That was his direct quote. And even with the talented receivers they had, it wasn't like he was just trading up to get the next best receiver. He wanted him specifically. So it is a lot of pressure on him, but I think he can live up to it.
And it's because of the attributes. In that video, they also said speed like this does not come around that often, and when you have the chance to get it, you get it.
Yes.
And speed doesn't mean that you catch footballs. I'm honest about that,
right.
But when they said that, I was like, yeah, I mean, you're right. I apologize for not grading you higher last year in the draft. So just a few quick things, right? We think that Jamo is going to be a potential to be a star, but do we know who Jamo is? So I found some interesting facts, and I want you to rate them on a scale of, I'm going to give you 3 of them. I want you to rate them on a scale from 1 to 5.
Okay, let's do it.
5 being the most interesting, 1 being like, nah, I don't care. Okay.
All right.
Did you know that Jameson Williams did not start his collegiate career at Alabama?
I did know that. Yeah. Ohio State, right?
He was Ohio State and was behind the 2 wide receivers that were drafted in front of him. Ooh. Interesting or not interesting?
Very interesting. I'll give it a 4.5. Yeah, I knew he was at Ohio State. I forgot there was 2 other guys ahead of him, but again, he was still able to have that much promise in getting traded up for that high. So yeah, I think that speaks a lot. I'll give it a 4.5, my present rating.
Number 2.
What's yours? You're not gonna give a score?
I found him, so I like.
Okay, all right, okay, fine.
You know what I mean?
Cool, no problem.
He received his first collegiate scholarship as a sophomore in high school from Syracuse.
Oh, man, that's a 5 too. That's big. Okay. Even if it's Syracuse, like that's a pretty big honor to be getting that college sophomore year. That's a big deal. I give him a 5.
And tying it back to our Detroit Lions for our third and final Jamo facts.
Okay.
He's the first wide receiver taken in the first round by the Detroit Lions since 2007 when they drafted Calvin Johnson Jr.
Oh, man. Why would you do that? Why are you doing that? That's nasty. Don't do that. I'm going to downplay that. J-Mo, let me protect you right here. I'm going to give that a 2. That don't mean nothing.
But is it interesting? I didn't ask if it meant something. I asked if it was interesting.
Yeah, it is actually. It absolutely is. Knowing what this franchise and their intrigue has been with receivers, and they haven't had a whole lot. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones. They've had some good players, but no first round picks since then. That is surprising.
But both of those guys were not drafted.
Right. So that's still surprising to me because I'm trying to think. That's it. Yeah, that's very, very interesting.
So 5 for I that was batted a perfect 1,000 on those.
That was
were
good.
All interesting.
You did good. I'll raise that back up to a 5.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good.
I appreciate that.
Good getting to know
so
you.
Here's what we're looking at with Jamo, right? He is a rising star in the NFL. We absolutely believe that he can get there.
Yes.
He possesses a lot of good strengths that are really unteachable strengths, like yards after catch and sprint speed and things of that nature. But he does need to clean up the maturity just a little bit. He thinks that he'll kind of make his way towards a breakout season, and I am there saying that he will break out in 2023. But we want to hear what you think too. So make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you've liked this video. Make sure you shared this video and drop comments down below letting us know what you think about Jameson Williams.
Yes.
And now, Eric, it's time to talk about Jared Goff, who's throwing passes to Jameson Williams.
Oh, man.
Because it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Jared Goff is always a topic of conversation for Detroit Lions fans.
Mm-hmm.
And we ran a poll on our YouTube yesterday. And the question was this. What is the key element that must happen to ensure Jared Goff's success in 2023? 5 options. An elite running game. Add a top-tier wide receiver to the wide receiver core. Ben Johnson's constant support. Or nothing, he's ready to succeed now. And the poll was pretty split. 35% of people that voted, there were 192 votes. 35% said an elite running game.
Okay.
26% said Ben Johnson's constant support.
Okay.
And 23% said nothing. He's good as is. Ready to go.
Okay.
So this, in a lot of ways, could be a make or break season for Jared Goff.
Yeah.
What are the key factors to you that will set Goff up for success in 2023?
I think Goff needs another receiver, whether that's a security.
So you're in the minority of that poll.
Yeah, I think it will be the I don't think it will be another receiver. I think the running game, I don't want to say it has to be elite, but it does have to complement it well. It does have to be strong. It does have to be productive. And I think they're going to see that. I just think they're going to be using the run game and those running backs in a different way than we saw last season. We're going to see a lot more dynamic spread out plays with those guys. So for me, it's another receiver. I think whether it's another tight end that offers them a different dynamic in the red zone, whether it's another receiver that opens up different options for Amon-Ra and JMO to, be in one-on-one isolated situations. I think we have it confirmed that Jared Goff plays his best when the riches are spoiled all around him. And he has a top 5 offensive line. You have a very budding running back core with Montgomery, who should be a tremendous upgrade over Jamal Williams. And I think just adding one more receiver or a tight end, either one of those two, it don't have to be one or the other. One of those two have to be addressed in the draft. I think in a pretty prominent situation or area or pick. I think that's going to be able to bring the best out of Goff. Having a multitude of weapons around him is where we see him at his best. We saw it with the Rams, and we saw it this past season where he had arguably his best career or best season. So I'd want to see maybe one more piece get added to make sure he's safe and set up to succeed.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
You said receiver, and we've talked about this. I don't necessarily think it's incredibly valuable.
You're wrong, but it's okay.
His best statistical season, Jared Goff's, taking 2022 out of the equation, because we know that was one of his best seasons, if not the best season, which is reason to celebrate in Detroit for a lot of reasons.
Of course.
Who were his receivers in 2018 when he went to the Super Bowl?
2018, I believe Robert Woods was still there. Is that correct? Woods was there. I believe Kupp was there. I don't think Kupp was who he is now, but I believe he was still there. And I think they still had Brandon Cooks, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that.
Okay. And there's one more.
There's one more receiver? Good.
You know him well.
The Rams? Who was their last? Who is it? Who am I forgetting? I'm going to be mad.
This guy's going to hate you.
I'm going to be so mad. Who is it?
You always forget him. Good old Josh Reynolds.
Josh! I'm sorry, Josh! Golly! Yes, Josh Reynolds, his favorite security blanket. I'm sorry. Sorry, Josh.
I say that to say this, right?
Yeah.
Kupp that year had 566 yards. It's not the Kupp that Matthew Stafford made him into be.
Right.
Brandon Cooks had 1,200 yards. Robert Woods had 1,200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't necessarily consider either of them a number one, right?
Cooks kind of was around that time.
Yeah, but he was also bounced around to so many different teams too around that time as well.
Yeah, but he was good when he was with those teams.
And the Texans and
he produced
back and forth, and the Saints.
He produced.
He did produce.
Yeah.
Yes. But who is his running back?
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, Todd Gurley. And what I appreciate about this situation that the Lions have, when we talk about being successful for Jared Goff in 2023, how can he repeat what he did in 2022? Well, the run game is the most important aspect.
Okay.
Because Jared Goff off of play action is actually pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where the Rams had a lot of their success.
Yes.
Because how many people stacked the box to stop Todd Gurley? Well, now the Lions, with one of the best offensive lines in the NFL and a very dynamic and young running back in David Montgomery, they have the opportunity to have an elite rushing attack, which then can translate into great play action, which can then create holes in secondaries that Goff can exploit.
For sure.
So when we talk about key factors, and this goes kind of into that next kind of thought process is like, okay, we know Goff's here for at least 2 more years.
Right.
And as fans, we want those 2 years to be the best years he's ever had.
Yes.
Bar none, because as we said with the backup quarterback, if your quarterback goes down, your team's not going to be that good.
Right.
So when it comes to building around Jared Goff, I think the run game is where you have to put the majority of your attention.
I'm okay with that. Because while there were some games he didn't have like his most, I guess, accurate or efficient games, the running backs were there to help stabilize things. Like Jamal Williams was great in a lot of spots. DeAndre, when he was healthy, looked very productive and as a change of pace scat back. And we're both high on Montgomery and what he can bring to this offense. So yes, I'm okay with that. I would still go with receiver just because, as you just stated, like Brandon Cooks, who was 1,000-yard receiver for like 3-4 years straight, having Robert Woods, who was ascending at the time, and Kupp, who was still playing well, and Josh Reynolds playing good and being helpful in the stability of that offense. It's still 4 guys that he was leaning on. So, you can even put I don't know if offensive line was in there too, but that also helps him be able to play that play action style as well. So considering that's been stabilized as well, it's a lot of things that need to work right for him to be at his best. But I'm with you on that. I'm okay with the running game being your choice. I'm all right with that.
Which leads to the conversation of this. Dan Campbell came out yesterday and said, I love our quarterback situation right now.
Yeah.
And Brad Holmes even mentioned that they've had conversations with Goff about the unique position that they're in.
Right.
There's a lot of people that believe Jared Goff is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFC. There are other people like RG3 who said he's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFC. We're not talking about the NFL here.
Dog had Dak ahead of him. That was nuts. Come on.
Yeah, but seriously, running down the list of NFC quarterbacks,
mm-hmm.
the Lions have a decent one to at least get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking Kirk Cousins over him.
Me neither.
I'm legitimately not taking Dak Prescott over him either.
Me neither. There's nobody in the South. It's nobody else in the division. I don't care about Justin Fields. Go away, Chicago Bears fans, if you're here. Nobody. I don't care about. I wouldn't take Kyler Murray over him. Like, I don't care about
no.
I think he's highly overrated. Stafford, we don't know where he's at this point. Yeah, Goff is, I don't want to say by default, but he's there. He's solidified in the top 5, for what he did last year.
So let me throw some data at you.
Okay.
About Goff last season.
Okay.
Because really, I don't think numbers lie. He was above league average in completion percentage, or in rating. I'm sorry, in rating, passer rating, in every zone of the field to the right and 10 yards and under.
Okay.
Huge ratings. Okay.
Okay.
And he was around league average in all of the other ones. He was above league average deep left. He was only like 5 points shy, about mid left. And I was also looking on Football Outsiders. I was looking at them when preparing for this, and I want to throw a little bit more at you.
Okay.
They have a statistic called DVAR, which is the total value that a quarterback brings to their team.
Okay.
In the NFL, do you think you could name the top 5 quarterbacks that brought value to their team last year?
Pat Mahomes, I'm imagining, is one. I think Josh Allen would be there. I believe Joe Burrow would be there.
Nope.
No? Herbert?
Nope.
Hurts has got to be in there then.
Nope.
What? I'm really interested to see who the other ones then. I'm going to stop guessing. Who are they?
Number 5 most valuable quarterback to their team last year was Josh Allen.
Okay, so he's...
The number 4 most valuable quarterback to their team was Tua Tagovailoa.
Wow. Okay.
Number 3 most valuable quarterback to their team, Tom Brady.
Yeah. Okay.
The 2nd most valuable quarterback to his team, Jared Goff.
I don't like that, but okay. That's their metrics, but okay.
And number 1 was Pat Mahomes.
Okay.
Now, DVOA is their ability to, impact a game, right? Their ability to, it's an adjusted value over the average. So the higher the percentage, the more above average you were.
Right.
Okay. Jared Goff is 4th on that list in the entire NFL.
Okay.
So, statistically, and we know, we've said it and we've admitted, we've said 2022 was his best season.
Yeah.
And with the right pieces and a running game around him, and as we talked about on the live last night, most likely drafting a wide receiver to add to that core, there's reason to believe he can be successful again.
Yeah. I would take that. I would agree with that. I think he has to be. I don't want to say it's make or break as it was kind of positioned, but I think we're going to have the most accurate reading of who he truly is. Like, I don't think last season would tell it, and I don't think the year before tells it. I think this is going to be the most accurate reading of who Jared Goff is, and if the Lions are going to invest in him for the next 5 years.
But maybe, like we talked about with J-Mo in the first segment, maybe there was a little bit of refining of the edges of the diamond a little bit. A scratching the surface of the potential that could be here.
Okay.
Because last year was his first year under Ben Johnson. Last year he had a pretty effective running game.
Yep.
Last year he had weapons that he could throw to.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Johnson's still here in 2023.
Right.
And if I'm the Lions, I'm selling literally everything that I have to say, what's it going to take to keep you here forever?
Please.
Please. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The run game is improved. David Montgomery is a better running back than Jamal Williams.
Yes.
And the Swift-Montgomery combination is going to be lethal behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, you have this rising star kid named Jameson Williams who can literally run circles around people.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who was named as the greatest draft steal of like the last decade in Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can check that article out on DSN.
Yep.
And not to mention any other weapons that are going to be found through this draft. So there could be, and listen, I want to be very clear too. We have had it out for Jared Goff. We have. But I will also say that if he continues to play at the 2022 level, and that's like the floor,
then you got something.
I'm not going to be mad going forward.
Absolutely. I really want people to understand that because I see it online all the time. People believe because we might want to upgrade. First, it didn't even start with upgrading the position. People were mad at the possibility of drafting a backup being a threat to him. And we're not saying that. We're not saying he has to be replaced immediately. We're not saying you have to make a move, but you do want to see some traits that define a franchise long-term quarterback. And we don't believe, I'm not going to speak for you. I don't believe we've seen that yet. I just don't. I think he has room to grow. We saw a great season last season. It has to be replicated next year. It has to be replicated or improved next season. It does.
And honestly, like, I don't really see a reason why it can't. Same offensive coordinator, a more seasoned Jameson Williams, and a better running game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not to mention Graham Glasgow's now back, so your right guard's not Swiss cheese.
Love that. Yes.
Hal Vitai's gonna hopefully not be injury prone for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So your offensive line has improved. Oh, and also your defense is better.
Yep. So you could be getting short field to be working with in the same breath.
Short field to be working with, not by. I saw a highlight of the Jamal Williams run against Seattle.
Oh,
they were
yeah.
down 31-15 at that point.
Yeah, I remember that run.
31-15 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the third quarter. That's a huge hole to climb out of.
Indeed it is.
So I don't think you're going to be seeing those situations that often either.
No. And
where Jared Goff is his best when he just has to distribute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this Lions team is actually set up quite perfect for that.
Yeah. The only reason, like, to me, we're probably not going to see it based on what we just talked about. I've said that, to me, a franchise quarterback looks like somebody that can elevate talent and elevate their team when everything is not perfect around them. They're looking like they're trying to construct everything to be as perfect as possible for Jared Goff. Like, even like some of the creative, like, to me, when I'm thinking of upgrading the position or having a mobile quarterback, I'm thinking of some of the plays they ran, like the Green Bay play where they, pitched it back to Swift, from Amon-Ra. They do the creative kind of plays like that. And I'm kind of maybe in my head playing Madden with things you could do with other mobile quarterbacks. But the way they're setting it up for, which people could argue is better, they're putting everything around Goff for him to be as perfect as possible. Great O-line, unbelievable dynamic with your run game, and you're going to be adding dynamics and other players to the receivers and the tight end suit as well. So I'm not going to get my wish this season. I don't believe I'm going to have to see him in a position where he has to lift the roster. I think they're going to make sure he's protected, and I'm okay with that as long as people are admitting that's the case. That's all.
And honestly, as a fan of the team, doesn't that actually sound good?
Sure.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what you want your team to do. If this is the guy for the next 2 years, and who knows beyond that, they're doing all of the right things. And there's no reason why you don't see a similar type season that Goff had last season.
It's possible.
And there's going to be a lot more answers that come up, Eric, especially around draft time, which we are just under a month away from.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk to the people about our live draft show. There's all this excitement, and we know that you're excited too. And if you are excited, you're in for a treat.
Please, please, please join us for our exclusive 2023 NFL Draft Live show where your favorite analysts, AJ, Eric, and Dylan, will be breaking down each first round pick as it happens live on the spot. That's right, we'll be reacting to live all the drama, surprises, and jaw-dropping moments of the NFL Draft.
We want you to be a part of that action. So share your thoughts with us, your reactions, predictions in the live comments, and we will interact with you throughout the show because we'll be there for every single pick of the first round. Don't miss the chance to engage with your fellow Lions fans and us, your two favorite Detroit sports hosts, and our buddy Dylan, who runs our TikTok.
Yes.
On draft night.
Yes. So do it now. Get to your calendars, mark it in your phone for the 2023 NFL Drive Live Show, April 27th, hosted by Detroit Sports Nation. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Do it right now. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single moment of this epic event on the way.
And we will see you there.
Yes.
And as always, go Lions. Yes. It's been a great night talking about Jameson Williams and Jared Goff. I'm excited. I can't wait for that doggone draft show. It's going to be epic.
Oh, man.
And we're going to have a lot clearer picture of what this team is going to look like heading into the 2023 season with a rising star in Jameson Williams.
Y'all go see.
Who's got some things to work on, but also a lot of positives that go along with it.
Yep. But you guys will see us in rare form for the draft. Believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Believe that. It's coming.
And then Jared Goff. A lot of potential of potentially the surface that was only scratched last season. And the building blocks that they have put around him to make him as successful as possible in 2023. Yes. As a Lions fan, you cannot be anything but excited for that. But that's going to do it for us tonight.
Yes.
He's Eric. I'm AJ. This has been your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box. We will be live with you Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Make sure you don't miss that. And then we will drop a more in-depth episode Friday at 5 p.m. as well. Make sure you've liked and subscribed on YouTube. Pound that bell for notifications. And follow Detroit Sports Nation across all social media platforms. Yes. We will see you live Monday night. Thursday night. Woo, it's Monday now. I don't want to relive this. Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Yes.